Well, the sun is finally out. It finally stopped raining, and we are going to be working on the camper today. We've done a lot on the inside to make improvements, but we haven't done much on the outside, and that's what we're going to be addressing a little bit more today. That right there, the fender that got blown off when we had the flat tire on our way up to New York, we've not had a chance to get that fixed yet. And one of the fender skirts, and it's really hard when you have these older models to find the right one. I'm gonna make one and see if I can do something like that for now. They cost about $150 if you buy them from the manufacturer, and we just don't have that kind of money right now to spend on a fender skirt because we got a lot of other projects that take priority right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other fender skirt off, and I'm going to use it as a template to try to make something that can go on here temporarily, just to pretty it up some so it doesn't look so bad. Looks like it's about to start raining, so I need to hurry up. This here is what I call backboard material. This is usually what they put on the back of nightstands and things like that. It's very durable, very flexible, but it's going to have to be only temporary because it's not really weatherproof. We are going to paint it and make it look really nice, but this is just a temporary thing. They've got another material that is a lot more weather resistant. In fact, if you really want to know the truth, if you look right here on the door, okay, this material right here that the door is made out of right here, that is actually on sale over at Lowe's as well, but it costs about 30 bucks a sheet, and I wanted to try this out because this was only 8 bucks, which is a lot cheaper. And so if this works out, then I'll probably do it again with the more plasticky material. Okay, I painted these things chrome color, and I'm going to be put them on the camper now. Like I said, these are only temporary. I'm going to probably upgrade to the plastic material as soon as I can, but I just wanted to check these out and see how this worked. Okay, that looks a lot better than it did. Next project is we're going to get new wheels. And I went ahead and made one for this side as well. I put the slide back out because we're going to be in and out of the camper. While the camper is parked, I always keep this lock on there. But we painted all this on the outside before. I'll probably do some more painting on the outside sometime soon. Well, I just looked at the forecast and it's going to be doing nothing but rain for the next few days. So we're not going to be doing any more projects on the outside of the camper for a while. One of the things I do want to do is I want to put some more rubber roofing on. And that's something that's going to require quite a few sunny days in a row to do. So I'll be glad to share that with you whenever I do that project as well. Well, another day, another project. Since we haven't been able to do anything outside on the outside of the camper, we are going to be touching up the paint inside the camper. There's just a few places that got nicked or scratched, and I'm going to be touching that up today. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let all that dry and probably do a second coat and then be done with it. I think that pretty much the inside of the camper is about where we want it to be, at least for now. Someday we might take out the rest of the dinette and put something else there that we would be able to use, maybe a desk area or something like that. That might be in the near future, but for now we're going to pretty much leave the inside the way it is and concentrate on the outside. Okay, it's rained for nearly 6 straight days and the fender skirt still looks pretty good. I can tell that this will probably have to be replaced after a while, but for now I think it looks pretty good. Okay, I said the next thing was going to be new wheels, but until then I painted the rims to cover up all that rust that was happening from before. I used this small can of brush-on Rust-Oleum. If you are ever going to use this stuff, make sure you wear gloves, because this stuff will not come off, and I'm learning that the hard way. This stuff is oil-based. That's the reason why it protects against rust so well. So once that thing's dry, no moisture whatsoever is going to be able to get through there. But this stuff will not come off. I'm serious. This stuff is going to have to wear off. I didn't get much on me. I was trying to be very careful, but I know next time, even if I'm just doing something small, to wear some latex gloves. That does look a lot better, I would say. Like I say, these things are only temporary, but they look good enough to last for a while. I don't want to go into an RV park or a campground and somehow them ask me to leave because my rig looks so horrible. Being that this rig is a 2003, which means it's over 10 years old, I've got to keep this thing up to par so that when I go to these RV parks, I'm not asked to leave. There's some campgrounds that will not allow something that is over 10 years old to stay at their park. That's not all campgrounds. Some of them just there's only a few that have that over 10-year-old rule that they don't allow. But if you keep your rig looking up really good and nice to where it doesn't look old, most times they'll just let that slide. And that's one reason why I want to get this thing to looking as nice as possible. We're going to take it through the truck wash. We're going to probably paint the outside. It's going to look as good as new when we are done. One way to get around the 10-year rule is to make sure that your rig doesn't look 10 years old. Another thing is that if your rig is over 20 years old, then it's considered vintage. And if you have restored a vintage camper, then most campgrounds don't have any problem with something like that. If it's a fully restored vintage camper, then they welcome that with open arms. The 10-year rule, I don't know why campgrounds have it. Some campgrounds do, some campgrounds don't. But when they do, you have to respect them and do as they wish. They cater to certain people that don't like being around junky RVs. And so to avoid being around junky RVs, they say, okay, well, we're not going to let anything over 10 years old into our campground, so you won't have to worry about that. But when it becomes 20 years old, then it becomes a vintage camper. And if you fully restore that, that's one reason why we want to paint the outside of this to make it look more vintage, so that when we do take it into the parks, then we won't have to worry about the 10-year rule anymore. And this right here is the reason why we want to go ahead and get this thing painted. It's going to have to be cleaned up first, but once we get this thing painted, this won't show up anymore. This is where we took the decals off, and even though, you know, they came off just fine, the paint underneath faded at a different rate than the paint that was exposed, and that's the reason why it still shows up even though the decals are gone. This camper was made in 2003, so 2013, that was 10 years, and so 2023, which is not that far away, it's 2019 now, so in 4 years this will be considered a vintage camper.